Hello, 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 hello. How are you? This is Els coming to you from Bemis Crafty Corner, and today we're going to talk about these. I recently made these paper clips to go into the Villains Journal that I had been working on, and um, we got a lot of comments. We got a lot of comments about making these types of paper clips, and they fall apart, or you can't get them to build properly. So we're going to talk about how to do these today. So one of the things we all get are these bases, that you can buy that have like stuff on them, and then we cover over them because, it's just a paper clip in there. And then we try to sand this down and glue over it and try to change this up. And so what I wanted to do was show you how to make these without having to buy these specialty type paper clips. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get out the supplies for this project, and I'll be right back. Supply list for this one. Obviously, we are going to need a base, and for that we're going to be using buttons. Not just any button though. We are going to be using very specific buttons, and I will talk about those in just a second. The next thing you're going to want for this one is going to be, obviously, some paper clips. These are the Jumbo Smooths. So, just the bigger ones here. They're like 2-inch. You can use bigger, smaller, whatever you want, but these are about the 2-inch size ones. You're going to want a box of bits and pieces, little bits of trims, and this is where you want to get out all of those little pieces that you have put away, all of your little flowers and your little bugs and just all the little teeny pieces, okay? That's what we're going to want to do with those. You're going to want a couple of hole punches. I have a 1-inch here and a 3/4 inch. You are also going to want some Gorilla Glue. Hot glue will work. It's not the best, but it does work. Gorilla Glue or E6000 preferably. You could also use some rubber cement if that's what you have. You're going to want a pair of scissors, and you're going to want some scraps of some cardstock or chipboard that you can punch some circles out of. All right? So, now, in order to do these, we're actually going to glue a button onto the paper clip. So the kind of buttons that we want are the ones that have the sort of the post in the back. So the pearl style button. Okay, now the thing you don't want are buttons that have grooves in them or that are not flat at the top. And the reason is that once you have that, if you get them and they're not flat, you will not be able to glue effectively onto the top of it. So nothing that has like ridges and things, and you can just kind of check them, put them down on their tip, and see this one wobbles around, looks flat, but it's actually got a little bit of dimension to it. We don't want that. The ones we want are the nice flat, don't go anywhere buttons. Okay, so that's the kind of button that we're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and get all of this out of the way, and I'll be back to show you how to quickly set one of these up. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you the basics here. The first part of this, we're going to want to punch out some circles, and I'm using the 3/4 inch. You could use the inch, the 1/2 inch, whatever you want, entirely up to you. And I'm just going to punch out some of these circles and just keep a kind of a pile of them. And then I'm going to start by taking my buttons, and these of course are called shank buttons, and I'm going to be threading those onto my paper clip. I'm actually going to put them on the paper clip. So I'm going to put the paper clip through the shank and go all the way around to that single loop side. So you have a double loop side, and then you have a single loop side, and we're going to put it on the single loop side. And some shank buttons will not work for this. This is one that has a really wide shank, and it won't, you can see it won't go around because it doesn't have any give inside. So test your buttons before you decide to do this, because they may not work. All right? All right. And all we're going to be doing is we're going to be gluing the button onto the clip. And you want to be careful with this. There's some buttons that are not appropriate to this. And those are the ones that are like, they're off balance, or they have like ridges on them. They're not going to work for this. So you'll want the flat ones. And then all we're going to do is just set them like this. We're going to center the button on the end, and then we're just going to hit it with our hot glue on both sides. We're going to give it a pretty generous amount of hot glue there. And then we're just going to put one of our pieces of paper on the back. Now, if you're using E6000 or Gorilla Glue, this process may take a little bit longer, but we're going to get that on there, and then we're just going to set it over and let it cool and basically dry. And I'm going to go ahead and let these all dry pretty good, and then I'll be back to show you the next step, and we'll get to decorating. Alright, so now these are all cooled down and the glue has set. So let's talk a little bit about finishing. So you can see these are all black, and you can do them any color you want, but I do strongly recommend that if you want to save a step, use the chalkboard paint. And this paint is actually from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to shake it up here. And I'm just going to use it right out of the bottle because this is just a quick project. So all I'm going to do is just put it on here. And I can paint on the glue if I want to. I can do this any color I want. But basically I'm just going to kind of paint them and then set them off to the side to let them dry. And I do mine black just because most of the journals that I do are darker. But you could do this in any color that you want. And it doesn't take a lot of paint. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could just glue another piece of paper on this side if you wanted to decorate both sides of this clip. You could do that. Alright, so now that that's done, I'm going to let that dry. And we're going to talk about these other two. So I have these two here, and these are actually vintage buttons. So I really don't want to do anything to the vintage button. I like the vintage button. I'm going to use this in a different journal altogether. So I'm going to leave these just the way that they are and put them off to the side. Now, if you have a big button like this, you could paint it. You could leave it this color if this works. This color works in your color scheme. It's entirely up to you. But I do have this one with just the glue on it because I was using this one to show. So I will go back and put a little more glue on that and add a tab to the back of it here before I use it in a book. We're going to let these dry, which will take just a couple of seconds, and then we'll be back and we'll do some decorating. So the next book I'm going to be working on, the next journal, is going to be a board book, Midnight Tales from Graphic 45. And as you can see, it's kind of a Halloween theme. So what I thought is we could do these paper clips for that. So I have here some Steampunk Spell Collection, which is just some really beautiful paper. And so I thought, you know, we might use some of this. And I have some little bits and pieces here that we're going to use to decorate these clips. This is just stuff that will match the book that we're doing. And then I've got some Jolie Boutique things that I got last year that I think should work pretty good, and some glitter pieces I may or may not use. Plus we have our laces and trims and things from our little scrap box. So let me get that open. So to do this, I'm going to be using some Fabri-Tac. We're going to bring these over, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue things, attach things to the paper side, okay? So as you can see, we have a piece here that's actually bigger than the background. That's not an issue because we're going to cover it up anyway. So I'm going to put some glue over here. And I'm going to use a ribbon rose on here. And then I need to do a little bit of covering down here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop a little bit of glue right here. And then I have this tiny little crystal skull. And they're a little fidgety. So I'm just going to pick it up and I'm going to place it where I want it. There we go. All right, so let's do the larger one here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add some hot glue to this because we're going to be adding a little bit more to it. So, add some hot glue, and I'm going to be putting the same small circle on. And then I'm going to be gluing a large circle down to that. Okay. Now I can paint this if I want to, or I can just add a piece of paper to it, because this is going to be a double-sided paper clip. So it's entirely up to me. Okay, so now I have my double-sided one. Let me go ahead and put this back in the glue here so it doesn't dry out. And then I'm going to get my Fabri-Tac. And I'm going to put some Fabri-Tac in the middle here. To put my little ribbon on there. And then I'm going to be putting my pumpkin, and I'm choosing the one with the spider on it. And I'm just going to sit and hold this for a second, let it dry, and then once this is completely dry, then we'll go on to do the other side, okay? So I've finished the last one, so we have this little gourd here with the spider on it and the little piece of green trim that goes around. And then on the other side of our double-sided paper clip, I went ahead and put like a white daisy that I smeared blood all over, and then I put one of those cute little skull cabochons on there, and we are going to add that to our collection. And so these are the ones that we're going to be using in the next journal. See that? They're all made and ready to go. I may make a few more, who knows, but that's kind of the basis that I've got going for the next one. So if you're new here and you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that red button for me and subscribe, like me, ring my bell, and share me with all your friends. And then your friends can be my friends, and my friends can be your friends, and our friends can get to be friends. And before you know it, we have a giant crafting community. Till I see you again, guys. Bye-bye. Stay safe.